By now, everybody's had a chance to see this near viral video of the Paraglider versus the Cessna 182 in Austria on Saturday, the 23rd of May, and brings up a lot of important points here on the Blanco Lirio channel. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And this video, like the others, is brought to you by viewers like you that sponsor this channel on Patreon. Now, at the risk of getting a copyright strike, we'll show you this video. There is a Cessna 182 approaching from behind, right there, shredding her parafoil, or her wing, basically. Now, paragliders do not have the capability to cut away the main foil, unlike a parachutist. But she successfully deploys her reserve parachute without entanglement in the main parachute and brings it down to a safe landing, eventually. And the Cessna 182 is able to safely land as well after shredding this wing. Had this foil wrapped around the wing or the tail of the Cessna 182, the outcome would have been much different. Had the 182 been just a few feet lower, the outcome would have been much different. Starting with the Aviation Safety Network, this occurred on Saturday, 23 May, 13:15 local time. The weather was perfect. Like all of these mid-air collisions, they normally happen under perfectly clear weather. This collision, once again, is a classic illustration of the limitations of see and avoid. A mid-air collision between a flex-wing paraglider and a Cessna 182Q occurred just 1.2 nautical miles west-northwest of the published traffic pattern of the local airport there in Salzburg, Zell am See, after a paraglider was not recognized by the approaching Cessna pilot in time. That's right, the Cessna did not see the paraglider in time. The gear and textiles of the flex-wing were ripped off by the left wing of the Cessna. The paraglider pilot was able to land unhurt, and the emergency parachute and the Cessna landed with minor damages, and the paraglider was still wrapped around. Oh, the paraglider gear was still wrapped around the left wing. Not enough to affect the ability to land the aircraft. Here in the links from the Aviation Safety Network, they show us this great map of the route. I believe the Cessna 182 was on a sightseeing tour of the local area, and I believe this is the route of the sightseeing tour that they fly. Here is the airport in question, and here is a paragliding area very nearby the airport. The accident occurred just 1.2 miles west-northwest of this traffic pattern. I believe that means the collision occurred somewhere near here, near the hang glider paragliding landing area. Okay, let's talk about the limitations of see and avoid. Here's the Cessna 182 approaching her from behind. With the wind noise, I'm not sure if she picks up the fact that the aircraft is behind her, but regardless, the paraglider has obviously the right of way here. Now, the Cessna 182 has a rather tall panel, and he is approaching the paraglider from behind, so he's only seeing the thin silhouette of the wing, if anything at all, and the paraglider is in a very slow turn to the left, so to the pilot, that target is not really moving across the windshield. It's a stationary target out in front of him that's not moving, and you've got the high terrain in front of the paraglider pilot and in front of the 182 pilot. In other words, this thin wing is hiding behind higher terrain as well. Kind of something like this, with my big head being the terrain in the background. Thin profile view. Once the 182 pilot approaches the paraglider is below the nose of the 182 and he can't see anything. Quick review of the right-of-way rules. A balloon has a right-of-way over any other aircraft because they're the least maneuverable. A glider has the right-of-way over a powered aircraft, so the paraglider would be considered a glider. So the paraglider certainly had the right-of-way. And both aircraft were in the appropriate airspace. Nobody was in somebody else's airspace where they should not have been. And, of course, overtaking. Each aircraft that is being overtaken has the right-of-way, and each pilot of an overtaking aircraft shall alter course to the right and pass well clear, if you see him. Here in the United States, paragliders operate under FAR Part 103, the rules that govern ultralight vehicles. And herein lists the following restrictions. And there are allowed to fly in airspace other than Class A, B, C, or D, or within the lateral boundaries of the surface area of Class E designated for an airport, unless they got permission. The point being that Part 103 aircraft are getting ever-increasing performance capability and are operating at higher and higher altitudes consistently. Plus, we have a major proliferation of drone technology exploding, and the FAA is having a hard time keeping up with the rules and regulations of this sort of flying and the technology that's available to help us avoid mid-air collisions. Now, this is my friend Christian Ramsey from UAvionics, a company that produces lightweight, inexpensive traffic collision avoidance systems for aircraft. And he's got a solution, but it's not currently allowed yet by the FAA here in the United States. And it's this little device here, a portable ADS-B receiver, which is common. A lot of receivers we all have already, but this is not only a receiver, it is a transmitter as well. But right now, this device is approved for use only in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, not here in the United States and not in Austria. And the problem, as I understand it at this time, is that the portable transmitters the FAA is still struggling with trying to get the portable transmitters in compliance with the existing ADS-B network and TSO C-199 devices and regulations. And all of this is coming to a head with the boom in drone technology these days, portable electronic conspicuity, if I'm saying that right, being conspicuous electronically to each other to give us a heads up that you're out there. Now, when it comes to paragliders and using ADS-B style equipment to avoid collisions, what are you going to do in a situation like this where they're flying in huge gaggles, which is not uncommon? Well, the technology is there with filters. You can filter out some of the noise of other transmitters and receivers that are working in close proximity to each other. But something to transmit to low-flying aircraft that this gaggle is out there in the first place would certainly be helpful. So the technology is out there, but once again, the market is moving faster than the FAA can react. That could help prevent these sorts of mid-air collision potential hazards and help fill in the voids of see and avoid mid-air collision avoidance. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.